This is Orlando Wilson, and what I want to talk about in this video is lawyers. And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. They phoned me up, and a friend of theirs owns, long story short, owns a computer wholesalers, and they ended up sending about 250, 300, $270 something thousand worth of computers to somebody, and the person just took the computers and didn't pay them. So to try and get their computers back or try and get payment, they went to a lawyer and dropped, I think, 20 grand on a lawyer who was going to do everything for them, do this, do that, get everything. And they still haven't got any money. And they're now scratching their heads saying, wondering what the lawyer did for $20,000, which he justified what he did, but he's a lawyer. This is where I tell people, be very careful with lawyers. You mean, my first experiences of dealing with lawyers was in Eastern Europe in the crazy days in the 90s. And generally, the lawyers were working for their clients. And they worked hard for their clients, and they got results for their clients. These days, especially in the United States, lawyers work for themselves. They don't work for anybody else. The main thing a lawyer is going to do is extend a case as long as possible so they can suck more money out of you. I said to the person about this debt, and again, there's nothing we can do about it. It's done. If I was in the US, yeah, possibly there's something we could do about it, but we don't do debt collection on spec. You have to pay in advance. You pay for our time, and we take a percentage if assets are recovered. I said to him, for what that lawyer done, and I take it he just sent a few letters, I said, we could have run a background check, located the guy, this person, pulled his businesses, etc., found out where the warehouses are, and for, I'm not going to say how much, but we could have sent somebody to go knock on his door and say, excuse me, can we have the computers back? If not, then there's a problem. All this lawyer done was send letters. We could have sent somebody to have a conversation with him. Everything we do is legal. But generally when you knock on somebody's door and say, okay, this is the stuff you've been paid for, we're here to get it back, thank you very much. And if it comes to enforcement, we'd happily send somebody to sort out things with the courts, liaise with the police to go and collect things. Generally when you knock on people's door, it tends to wake them up a little bit. All legal. But again, this lawyer for 20 grand just done a location and sent out a few letters, but bullshitted the client on, yeah, I've done this, I've done that, and whatever. They didn't do anything. They just took 20 grand. I know one case in US I was on, and this is where a guy was being threatened, and him and his wife was being threatened. Long story, crazy story another time. And his lawyers were doing everything possible to not solve the case, not solve the problem. And even down to liaising with the police. They didn't want the client to liaise with the police, etc., etc. Why? To me, the lawyers had no clue about what they're doing, even though this was apparently some top Tampa lawyer. To me, the only way I can put up is a fucking idiot. Even though he's a top lawyer, I say a top fucking idiot. I ended up having an argument with the guy because, again, the client dropped a 7-figure retainer on this lawyer who didn't do anything. He started to work when the person that was being the problem, the threat to the client, was arrested and being prepared to be extradited. Then this guy started doing things. But at one point before this, I said to this, the client wanted me to do something, and I mean, the client was wise, but he dropped this money on this lawyer, so he's scratching his head now. He realized he wasted his money, and his wife definitely knew he wasted his money. I had a conversation with him, the client, his wife, and we called up the lawyer on speaker, and it's like, okay, all you're doing is you might as well just send out a cease and desist letter to this guy that's the threat, because you're not doing anything and you're sabotaging everything we're trying to do to protect the client. Long story, another time. But again, I take it the lawyer at that stage didn't want to confront the threat and didn't want to get involved, mainly because he was scared of the threat. That's all I can put it down to. Because again, we were providing protection, but nothing was being done to manage the threat, and it should have been done legally. There was enough legal evidence there for law enforcement to get involved, but this guy didn't want law enforcement involved. The lawyer didn't want law enforcement involved. Why? Because he most probably thought if we solved the case, then he's not going to be getting his money. Somebody summed it up to me years ago, well, a friend of mine, and this is to do with this guy was sat down by the feds after a gun range he was working at. The owner of the gun range had been doing things under the table and got caught out by ATF. The guy I know, close friend of mine, manager, who'd done everything 150% legal, even down to reporting what the guy that owned the gun range was doing illegally, and keeping all the documents. And again, if you don't know, it's the gun business, the legal gun business in the US is very regulated, and if you screw up, you're going to get the book thrown at you, big time. You're looking at big jail time, unless of course you call Hunter Biden. Anyway, the Fed said to this guy, and it's true, I've heard this how many times, the guy that was busted, the gun range owner, was told he's fighting the case, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he went out and dropped big money on a big lawyer. And the Fed said to the guy I knew, he's like, you know what, we know this guy's fighting the case. He said, but this is what's going to happen. He's gone to a lawyer, the lawyer's told him, the lawyers are going to help him, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to clear everything up, yeah, no worries. The lawyer's the best help for him, best hope for him, all this will be cleared up, it's just going to cost him how much money. And they said, what's going to happen, and this did happen, is when it comes to trial, the lawyer's going to plea, which he did. He didn't bother fighting the case. But the lawyer got paid. That's the main thing. I've seen it in how many cases, and this is where lawyers play off people's fears. And I've got this in other videos about security companies do this as well, unscrupulous security companies. That lawyers play on people's fears. If you go into a lawyer and you have a problem, a lawyer is going to make that problem seem bigger than what it is. A lawyer is going to tell you, an unscrupulous lawyer, most lawyers, will tell you they're the only person that can help you, how they can win the case, how they can do this, how they can do that. And I've heard this patter, this lawyer's, salesman's patter from too many lawyers over the years. Once they've got your money, then they do the absolute minimum that's required for them to get paid. I've had it with lawyers in the past where they've come up with that much stupidity, and I've dealt with clients liaising with lawyers. They've been coming up with that much stupidity just to extend the cases. An old client of mine I was working for on one case phoned me up once, and I was liaising with his lawyers. Long story another time. I've got a video up about it. It's about a probate case, long video. And this old guy, ex-World War II veteran, Korean veteran, and I think he was also active service in Vietnam. He was an Air Force, U.S. Air Force. Very, very good guy. Called me up, and he was in his 90s, complaining about the lawyer always contacting him and talking to him, etc. And he's like, I don't want to fucking talk to the guy. He's a pain in the ass. I want him to do his job. At the end of the month, his billing cycle, the lawyer was billing him for the phone calls when the lawyer was just phoning him up, talking, BSing to him for like 20, 30 minutes at a time. But he was billing him for those BS phone calls. So this is where lawyers, to me, for some things they're a necessity. You need a good lawyer. But on most cases, a lawyer, and this is where a lot of people screw up, when they have a problem, the first people they go to is a lawyer. Generally, you want a lawyer as a last resort. In the US, same as calling the police is a last resort. Why? Because if you were a law-abiding person and you call the police these days, the chances are they'll try and arrest you for something just as much they'll try and arrest the bad guys. If they can't arrest, if it's easier to arrest you than it is to arrest the bad guys, they'll arrest you for something. Why? Because they want the arrest. Looks good on their records. With lawyers, they're going to end up extending a problem rather than solving a problem. Why? They want billing hours. And this is where you need to be up to speed on, if you think you need a lawyer, find one which is good. Generally get one through recommendation, and also research the laws yourself. You know what, another case just come to mind. Somebody else I knew had a legal problem. This was in Central Florida. And this was an employment issue, minor. But they were told they couldn't work in a certain county in the US, in Florida, for 12 months because of some contract they signed. And the lawyer turned up. I met the lawyer, young lawyer, knew everything but knew nothing. And they went to court over this employment thing, and this person lost the case. I said to him, show me the contract document. Where's the contract? Oh, it's a PDF. I say, okay, they got a signed PDF that you signed it. Did they have the original? There's no original, just the PDF. I take it the printout of, they might have printed something off to go to court. I said, well, show me the PDF. The PDF that was sent over had been modified like a week before the court case. Because generally on computer files, on most files, you can see when they was last modified. When you pulled up the details, the background on the actual PDF that was sent over, or the document, it was created a week before the case. So I said to him, didn't your lawyer look at the document that was sent over and say, okay, well, this document was modified a week before the case? No. Why? Because they know everything. They're a lawyer, and they don't think to, I take it that was over and above their head. But the first thing you do when anything comes in is you look at the evidence, you assess the evidence, you make sure that the evidence is actually real or not. But that lawyer, the case was done, but I said to him, well, that's, in my world, that's incompetence. But lawyers in the state of Florida and lawyers in the US, incompetence is a whole new realm of incompetence, put it that way. It's a different world. Anyway, just my thoughts on lawyers, but be very, very careful with lawyers if you're dealing with lawyers. And again, if you can do something, don't go running to the lawyer for first case scenario, because a lot of times they're going to screw you over rather than do you a favor. As I said, that case with the debt for 250 grand, that lawyer just wasted another 20 grand of the client's money. So, just my perspective. Anyway, in the meantime, follow me along on social media. I got a lot more videos up, a lot more content up on LinkedIn, X, YouTube, etc., etc. Also check out our blogs, Risk Inc. and Risk Incorporated, and Truth Only Has a Few Friends. I also have an array of books up on Amazon that talks about various aspects of the close protection business, etc., etc. In the meantime, be good, stay safe, and as always, stay out of trouble.